Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Chapter 37. This venerable one meets a god. The cold moon reflects upon the frosty snow, the frozen mountain. Embraces the icy lake. The tallest of the tall cannot be crossed, and the despair of the worlds is in this timely moment. Xuemen, wearing deerskin gloves on his hands, brushes off the snow off the huge boulders as he read aloud the cinnabar inscription upon it. He looked back and said, "Shizun, we are here." Dawning Peak is full of snow all year round. At the moment, a luscious crescent moon was high in the sky, a shimmering glow looking upon the icy lake. Cold air pierced through thick forest leaves in an absolute world of ice. Jinjinj Lake was frozen without traces of snow, as if there were jewels made of glass across the sky and earth. The Milky Way itself fallen upon mere mortals, falling stars seas as far as 10,000 miles, a scene peerless in magnificence. It was as if one had truly journeyed to the end of the humanity, to a world covered in beautifully untainted snow. The group went to the lake. The smooth, mirror-like surface of the lake was overflowing with magnificent light. A stone embankment went through all the way to the center of the lake. There was a stone tablet next to the embankment covered in frost. Intersecting patterns spread across the stone, and on it was written, "The path forward is difficult," in powerful calligraphy. After thousands of years, the words were still clear, as if people often repainted it over. Chu Wanning stopped in front of the stone embankment and said, "Only one person at a time can go into Jinjinj Lake to seek a holy weapon. Whom among you will go first?" Xuemeng could hardly contain himself and blurted, "Shizun, I'll go first." Chu Wanning glanced at him, thought for a moment, and shook his head. "You're too rash, I'll be ill at ease." Shimei laughed a little at his said and said, "Shizun, how about I go first, since I probably can't break through the icy lake anyways." Shimei then went along the stone embankment on top of the icy lake that only let through one person at a time. He slowly walked till the end. In accordance with the customs, he condensed a ball of spiritual power in his hand, then leaned over and put his palm on the ice surface. Shimei's spiritual power traveled down along the ice surface, the shining white light flickered brightly in the distance. Mo Ran stood there holding his breath, clenching his hand into a fist. But no matter how long Shimei tried at the lake, the ice did not budge at all. He walked back with a wry smile as he gave up and said to Chu Wanning, "Shizun, my apologies. No matter, cultivate for a few more years and try again." Mo Ran sighed a little, somehow more disappointed than either of them, but still went to comfort Shimei and said, "It's fine. You'll get more chances. Next time I'll come with you to try again." Chu Wanning said, "Don't talk so much, come forward, it's your turn now." In the past life, when Mo Ran came to seek a weapon, it was during his most carefree days of youth. He had nothing but boundless enthusiasm towards the prospect of a holy weapon. In this life, it was nothing more than coming to pick up a weapon. He already knew what kind of things would be waiting ahead of him. There was no anxiousness nor expectations. Though he did feel a kind of warmth, as if he is about to reunite with an old friend. He walked along the stone embankment, knelt before the icy lake. Bending down, he pressed his palm against the surface of the ice. Mo Ran then closed his eyes. His scabbardless long blade, the sinful and fierce blade that accompanies him to see all the flowers on the horizon and tasted all the blood in the human realm. Mo Ran opened his eyes and whispered to the surface of the lake, "Buledingui, I'm here." As if sensing the call of its destined master, a huge black shadow suddenly appeared on the surface of Jinjinj Lake's ice. The shadows gathered under the ice, becoming more and more clear, more and more vivid. Suddenly, the thousands of feet of ice loudly shattered, and Mo Ran could hear Xuemeng's distant shout of alarm coming from the shore. The ice is gone. The lake's water surged up, waves crashing. A huge turquoise-black dragon broke through the surface, each scale on its body 7 feet wide. In an instant, Jinjinj Lake's surface flooded over, a heavy fog rolling over it. The dragon shimmered brilliantly under the moonlight and spouted a breath under its nose. At the same time, an ancient barrier fell around the edge of the lake, separating Mo Ran from Chu Wanning and the others. Inside the barrier, human and dragon regarded each other. Mo Ran squinted his eyes through silver mist and looked up at the dragon. He could see that the dragon held a scabbard-less blade in its jaw. Though old, the blade was still thick and sharp, capable of carving iron and smashing gold. The dragon transformed the blade into a size that a human can use and slowly lowered its radiant, vibrantly colored serpentine body to the ground, placing the blade in front of Mo Ran. It didn't lift its head immediately, instead turning its eyes, golden and as large as a grown man's body height, to stare at the other. The dragon's eyes were like two great bronze mirrors, Mo Ran's reflection shining clearly within them. Mo Ran stood still with bated breath and waited for it to speak. If nothing changes, then all he needed to do was retrieve a plum blossom from the foot of the mountain and bring it back. He ended up being let off easy because the old dragon sought only peace and elegance. Little did he know, he'd find himself waiting for a long while that this was not the same dragon as the one in his past life who gave the holy weapon to him so easily. Its beard fluttered as it narrowed its enormous golden eyes, then lifted its front claw to write two words in the snow before Mo Ran, "Mortal One." Mo Ran stared. He clearly remembered that the dragon in his past life could speak. How come it's mute in this life? After the mute dragon wrote these two words, he immediately wiped the writing away with a scaly claw to write another sentence. No, a mortal would not have such strong spiritual energy. Then are you a god? Mo Ran. The dragon thought for a moment, then swiped its hand once more and wrote, "Not a god, you have evil energy in your body. Are you a kind of demon?" Mo Ran yelled in his head, what kind of nonsense was this? This venerable one was just reborn, there's nothing to deliberate back and forth about. Just give this venerable one his blade already. The old dragon seemed it could sense his impatience for his weapon and suddenly lifted its scaly claws and pressed the blade underneath its foot. With one foot on the blade, it used its other to wipe its writing on another patch of snow. No need to take offense. I saw two other shadows in your body. I have never seen anything like it in my life. So tell me, are you a mortal or ghost? God or demon? Mo Ran raised an eyebrow and replied, of course I'm a human. Is this something that even needs to be said? He was just a human who had already died once. The old dragon paused for a moment, then wrote, one human soul, split like this. This really is never been seen before, unheard of. The dragon shook its head back and forth in a puzzled manner, and Mo Ran couldn't help but find it funny. What's so strange about that? Anyway, Elder, what will it take for you to give me this blade of yours? The old dragon sized him up for a while and wrote, then, you stand there and don't move. Let me use a technique to peer into your soul and I'll give the blade to you. How's that? Mo Ran didn't expect to be given such request. Under that profound stare, he started to feel a little bit of hesitation. He thought, what if this old thing could look into his past life? What would happen then? But Buletangui was almost within his grasp. This blade possessed a strong, fierce power. It was one of the rarest holy weapons in existence. If he refused now, he'd never have the chance to get his hands on it again. With a little pause, Mo Ran looked up and said, that's fine and all, but Elder, will you give me the blade no matter what you see inside of me? The old dragon right on the ground, these are the terms. I will naturally follow through on my words. No matter whether I was good or evil in the past, Mo Ran asked. The old dragon paused for a moment and then wrote, even if you were evil in the past, I will not stop you. I can only hope that you will pursue goodness in the future. Mo Ran smiled and said, all right. Since Elder said so, I don't have any objections. Please examine all you like then, Elder. The old dragon lifted itself slightly. Its radiant serpentine body bowed and it blew a breath from its nose, then both of its eyes started to emit bright red haze. But this time, Moran was astounded to find that reflected in the dragon's eyes, there were two other hazy and indistinct shadows in addition to himself. One to his left, on to his right, standing faintly behind him. Moran immediately whipped around in shock, but behind him there was only emptiness and unceasingly falling snow. Where did the other figures come from? As he turned his back again, he saw the figures in the dragon eyes become more and more clear, as if something sunken in the water was slowly floating up to the surface. Moran kept staring and suddenly realized that the two silhouettes were extremely familiar. He couldn't stop himself from taking a step forward, and immediately the closed-eye figures before him snapped open their eyes. Shimei. Chu Wanning. He never expected that it would be them. Moran stumbled from being startled by such a thing, staggering backwards and stuttering so much he couldn't form a whole sentences. How? This is... The three people in the old dragon eyes stood quietly, expressions calm and without a hint of emotion, staring like this into the distance. Moran was stunned. After a while, the blood-red fog rose again and the figures in the dragon's eyes started to blur until they finally disappeared altogether. The old dragon blew a huff from its nose, shook out its body and then wrote quickly, "I cannot make sense of it. I have seen much in my lifetime, but I have never seen a person's soul with the imprints of two other people upon it. It's utterly perplexing. My soul has their imprints in it." Yes. After a slight pause, the old dragon resumed writing, "I do not know what happened to you. How deep must an obsession run for another person to be entangled so tightly in one's own soul?" Moran stared at the messy lines in the snow and his face started growing red as if he were being suffocated. His obsession with Shimei ran so deep through his bones that even if he was imprinted upon his soul as the dragon saw, he wouldn't think much of it. But what the hell was up with Chu Wanning? What kind of heartfelt obsession did he have towards Chu Wanning? This human and dragon were so immersed in contemplation that they did not notice when the surface of Jincheng Lake started to ripple unnaturally. When the water rushed up and the waves broke through, it was too late. All they saw was the water in Jincheng Lake split apart, as if sliced in half by a sword. The water on both sides rushing up towards the sky. Two tightly packed groups of beasts rushed out from between the waves. They had the bodies of leopards and the heads of oxen. Though they were not as large as the old dragon, the horns on their heads shone coldly and all of their claws were sharp and menacing. Although hundreds were gathered, the old dragon did not show any fear. He looked askance at them with his golden eyes. "What happened?" Moran asked. The old dragon paused and then wrote, "It's Goshen Shanggong." When he read those words, Moran immediately felt as if he'd been struck by lightning. Goshen Shanggong is the god of weapons, lording over all the weapons in the world. This founding god created the first sword in the world, helping Fuxi lay waste to his demonic enemies. Note, Fuxi, name of the heavenly emperor. That awe-inspiring primal god was actually these hundreds of cows? The thought was too horrifying for Moran to accept. As he stared blankly, uncomprehendingly, he suddenly heard the sounds of ocarina coming from a far distance. The ocarina was an ancient instrument. Not many people in their age still knew how to play it. As the sounds of the ocarina came closer, the raucous group of beasts slowly stilled and bent their forelegs one by one until they all kneeled along on both sides. A man wearing splendid robes and carrying a long sword rode atop of a kylon through the path made by the beasts. The man had a handsome face, with delicate and wholly benign features. He stood in the wind as snow fell onto him and his robes gently billowed. The clay ocarina in his hands was smooth and deep in color. His fingers were placed lightly over the holes as he held it to his lips to play. When the music finished playing on a soft note, the hundreds of ox beasts suddenly dissolved into water, revealing that they had only been transfigured creations. That man put down the clay ocarina, ran his eyes over Moran for a moment and smiled gently. Truly a strange person, the likes of which one may never encounter in a millennia. No wonder you piqued Wanjiao's interest. I am Goshen Shanggong, who lives within Jinjinj Lake. All of the weapons in this lake were forged by myself. Just things of little consequence, please excuse my humble work. Even though the old dragon wrote it and this man said it himself as well, Moran still couldn't believe it. His face pales as he said, "You're Goshen Shanggong." The man smiled patiently and replied, "Yes, that is me." Moran was on the verge of choking. "God of 1,000 weapon? That one?" "Correct." Goshen Shanggong raised his eyebrows delicately, laughter in his eyes. "The later generations do seem to call me that. How embarrassing. I grind a few paltry swords and tie a few little whips when I'm bored, yet people idolize me so." Moran. Strong people acting humble was the most grating thing on earth. Like, Chu Wanning matter-of-factly said, "I have 3 holy weapons," but this exalted Goshen was even more irritating. He actually goes around calling the weapons he created paltry swords and little whips. Why doesn't he call Emperor Fuxi lil old man while he's at it? Moran took a while to process this and finally said, then shouldn't you be in the heavenly realm? How could you be in this lake? I like to fight and spar, so I often ended up disturbing the Emperor's peace and quiet. After being on the receiving end of his glares, I figured might as well just descend. Then how long have you been here? Moran said, dumbfounded. Goshen looked thoughtful. He then smiled and said, "Not too long, only a few 100 years. "A few 100 years, Moran repeated and then laughed drily. "Doesn't the exalted God think that's a bit long?" Goshen's expression was placid as he smiled, nonchalantly waving his sleeves. "It's not too long. Besides, forging a sword for the heavenly emperor used up much of my spiritual power. And staying in such an abundantly opulent heavenly realm gets rather boring. It's much better there." Although Moran was extremely curious to know more about this god of weapon from legend, it wasn't really his place to keep prodding about personal matters. He thought about it and decided there were more important matters at hand, so he said instead, "Exalted Elder, you didn't just come out to see me today because you thought my soul was special, right?" "Why not? Your spiritual power is rare, hard to ever come across," Goshen smiled. "I worry that if I give you this blade, it would be waste of potential." "Haha, it's not too bad," Moran replied. "This blade seems like it would suit me." "I thought that at first as well," Goshen continued pleasantly. "But upon closer examination, I found that it isn't the case. You have a rare talent, so it made me curious. I came out today because I wanted to invite you to the bottom of the lake to chat. I would like to see which among those millions of blades would best suit you." This was no small matter in and of itself. Even though Taxian Jun had experienced whole array of things in his life, he still choked a bit. Goshen Shanggong took his silence to mean he was reluctant to go out of fear. "There's no need for you to worry, even though there are many monsters under the water, they all answer to me. I guarantee they will not harm you. Wanjiao can testify to it." The old dragon said nothing but slowly bowed at the side. When Moran saw that he was really being given a genuine invitation, he couldn't help but feel a jolt in his heart. He then said, "Then, if I go, can the exalted God grant me a request?" "What kind of request?" "The person who sought a holy weapon before me is a close friend of mine." As Moran spoke, he pointed to the shores beyond the barrier and brought his attention to Shimei. "He was denied just now, so I'm thinking if I granted the exalted God's wish, then can the exalted God grant my wish as well and give him a weapon?" "What am I? Something like that is no issue for me." Goshen laughed. He suddenly flicked his hand and the ancient barrier covering the sky immediately disappeared. "This is a very simple matter. Let all 3 of them come over then. If any weapon catches their eyes, it is as good as theirs." Moran was delighted by the unexpected turns of events. He never thought that he'd come across a way to solve the issue so effortlessly. he was more excited at the possibility of Shimei receiving a holy weapon than the prospect of his own. As he relayed what was going on to the other three, Shimei and Xuemeng's eyes grew larger and even Chu Wanning reacted slightly. Gushan Shanggong watched from the side and abruptly said, as if he suddenly realized something. He stared at Chu Wanning. It's you. End chapter. Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Chapter 38. This venerable one's 20,000 leagues under the sea. Chu Wanning's indifference extend to even gods and immortals. He said mildly, "Does the exalted god recognize me?" "How could I not?" Gushan smiled in a refined manner. "Many years ago, when you came to Jinjinj Lake in search of a weapon, the depth and purity of your spiritual strength was such that I almost couldn't resist coming out to see you. So how is it, is the weapon to your liking?" "Which weapon is the exalted god referring to?" "Ah." Gushan startled slightly, then said with a smile, "How absent-minded of me to forget that I gave you two." Chu Wanning said, "No matter. Tianwen works very well." "Tianwen? The willow vine. Oh, I see." Gushan smiled. "So you named it Tianwen. And what about the other one? What's that one called?" Chu Wanning answered, Juji. "And how is Juji?" "It has a chilling nature, I rarely use it." Gushan sighed, "What a shame." Chat over, Gushan turned around and said languidly, "Wanjai, I'll be taking them down below. It's not good for your body to be up here above the water where the spiritual energy is so thin, so head back soon yourself." The old dragon nodded, raising a large wave as it dived back into the lake, scales glistering. Meanwhile, Chu Wanning busied himself casting water-repelling charm on his three disciples. Gushan Shanggong watched with interest and thought to himself, "This level of proficiency is rare amongst cultivators, wonder who his teacher is?" But Chu Wanning had an air of aloofness that didn't welcome small talk, and Gushan Shanggong knew better than to pry. Once all preparations had been made, the group waded into the freezing waters of Jinjinj Lake together. Owing to the charm, they moved unhindered in water as on land. A boundless underwater world came into view as they approached the bottom. The bottom of the lake was covered in fine white sand, water plants drifted gently in the flow, and rows upon rows of finely detailed buildings lined the sides of crisscrossing streets. All kinds of monsters and beasts come and go on the streets and in the alleys, even some creatures that normally couldn't coexist, lived in harmony here. Gushan said, "Jinjinj Lake has plentiful spiritual energy and thus embodies a kind of paradise. The creatures that make their homes here stay for generations without ever leaving, so many things are quite a bit different from what you might expect to see in the human realm. You're welcome to look around if you wish." As he spoke, a snow-white rabbit spirit with scarlet eyes rode past on a tiger. The rabbit was dressed in white robes, all pomp and poise, with a look of arrogance as it ceaselessly berated the tiger to go faster. The tiger, on the other hand, was meek and obedient, without so much as a hint of dignity. The group watched, speechless. Gushan Shanggong led them along the main path. Countless shops crowded both sides of the street and all kinds of creatures passed them by. Soon enough, they arrived at the center of the city where even more demons gathered, making a strange sight. Jinjinj Lake rarely has any contact with the outside world, but you can barter for nearly anything you need here. Xuemeng asked, "Legend has it that Jinjinj Lake was formed from your blood, so wouldn't that make you master of this place then, since it's your spiritual energy that's sustaining everything here?" "I wouldn't go that far." Gushan smiled a little. "Besides, that's all in the past already. I left the realm of gods long ago and my spiritual strength is nothing like what it used to be. Thinking back now, those heaven and earth-shattering things seems almost like they happened in a dream. What relations does any of it have with the current me? Right now, I'm just a mere swordsmith." He showed them around the city center as Her spoke. The creatures at the bottom of the lake, having lived with Gushan Shanggong all this time, seemed to have forgotten his status as a founding god and didn't have much of a reaction even when he walked by them, busy minding their own business, peddling their wares. Fish blood mantu, freshly made. Skin of Shua Iran snake, premium clothing material, only 3 left. Once it's all gone you'll have to wait for my next shedding. Selling squid ink brow filler, made with fresh ink spat just this morning by yours truly, it'll do wonders for your eyebrows. Hey wait. Miss, don't leave. The market was inundated with the sounds of various creatures hawking their wares and the unusual sights were no less to be marveled at. A headless ghost sat by its stall, selling combs and makeup. It held a comb between 2 fingers with long, scarlet-painted nails as it brushed on its own bloody head that was resting on its knees, offering in a soft voice, high-quality bone combs, take one home with you today. Xuemeng's eyes were wide as he glanced left and right. He saw an apothecary to the side staffed by merfolk selling all kinds of medicinal herbs that he's never even seen before and was just about to go over to see if he could bring some home for his mother when an ear-piercing shrill voice rang out from behind him, "Make way! Make way! Let me through!" Xuemeng's foot froze mid-step, but there was no one there when he turned to look. Gushan smiled and said, "Look carefully, under your foot." Sure enough, Xuemeng squinted and saw a pile of tiny rocks moving on its own. "Well, that's new, even rocks can walk here. Is it a rock spirit or something?" Xuemeng mumbled. Chu Wanning corrected him, "Bug. Pug." Chu Wanning shot him a look. It's one thing for Mo Ran to not pay attention in class, but not you too. Xuemeng dived into martial arts with his whole being, yet couldn't even concentrate when it came to things like literature and history. He sat straight and proper at Chu Wanning's lectures, half in fear of his imposing aura, but everything went in one ear and out in the other. His entire face burned at having been caught by Shizun. Mo Ran laughed, "Shizun's words aren't fair to me, I totally listened in that lecture." Xuemeng wasn't about to back down. "Oh? You explain it then." Meatbun is a type of bug, very greedy by nature. It tries to gather up any and all pretty rocks it sees and usually ends up crushed to death under its piles of rocks. Mo Ran looked expectantly at Chu Wanning with a grin on his face. "Am I right, Shizun?" Chu Wanning nodded and said, "This bug had already gone extinct in the outside world. I didn't expect to see one here." Gushan explained with a smile, "This one just lucked out. It's only still alive thanks to the local apothecary. Watch, here he comes." They watched as the bug trudged to the steps of the apothecary with great effort, where it suddenly yelled, "I can't take it anymore. Hurry and save me, doctor." A turquoise-colored sea dragon quickly came swimming out. He was clearly used to handling the situation, smiling leisurely as he took out a white porcelain bottle and poured golden red liquid medicine on the bug like it was the most normal occurrence. "Hello, smart one, good harvest today." The smart one huffed, voice lazy while it enjoyed the medicinal bath. "Humph, not too bad, not too bad. 100 more tomorrow and I'll have 4,085,617 rocks at home." Mo Ran. Chu Wanning. She Mei mumbled, "That's quite a hoard." The dragon finished pouring the medicine and said, "Remember to come earlier tomorrow, any later and even the strengthening dew won't save you." Yeah, I'll come earlier." The bug replied half-heartedly, but then a light yellow rock in the corner caught its eye and it started hollering, "Hey Lil Eel. I meant Dr. Dragon, might I please trouble you to put that pretty rock over there on my back? That way I'll have 4,085,618 rocks tomorrow." Xuemeng couldn't resist walking over to ask, "Why do you need so many rocks for? Are you building a house?" The bug's shrill, conceited voice came from under the pile of rocks, "What the? A normie? Ayo, I haven't had to see one for so long. How is it any of your business why I'm gathering rocks? Of course, it's not for building a house, I ain't that bored." Shi Mei was also curious. "What is it for then?" The bug said self-righteously, to count, of course. Everyone as rendered totally speechless. After strolling around for a bit, Gushin took them back to his residence. In a corner of the street stood an enormous seashell, like a folding screen in the outside world. Behind it was a large courtyard divided into 6 sections, magnificent and spacious. Halls and corridors led to side wings and flower gardens. Bead curtains made of pearls and kelp swayed gently in the water. Some of the side rooms were dark while others were lit with candle light, faint notes of harp and ocarina drifting barely audibly. Just like in the apothecary, all the servants in the god's residence were merfolks. Some kept dragon tails while others changed their tails into legs, preferring to walk instead, but they didn't seem to like shoes much as all of them walked barefoot. Seeing the confusion on their faces, Gushin smiled and explained airily, I lived with my good friend Wanjiao, who was once the crown prince of the eastern seas. These are the servants he brought with him when he took up residence here. Wanjiao was the name of that old dragon. Moran was rather fond of that black dragon, since he got his holy weapon from it in the last life, so he couldn't help asking with a grin. Where is he, anyways? He probably assumes a different form down here, right? He's so ginormous, I doubt he'd be able to fit here otherwise. Gushin nodded and said cheerfully, that's a matter of course. But he gets tired easily in his old age and is probably already resting right now after going above water earlier. You'll have to wait for him to wake up if you want to see him. Just then, a merman with a long brown hair floated over and bowed deeply to Gushin, then said in a soft graceful voice, Exalted God, welcome back. Wanjiao Diangxia has already told this humble servant everything. Would the exalted God like to take the guests to the holy weapon arsenal forthwith? Gushin didn't answer immediately and instead looked politely to the guests first. He then nods after he saw that they didn't mind, yes, very well. Please have the kitchen prepare food and wine. We shall dine when we return from the arsenal. They passed through the courtyards to the deepest section. In the center of this courtyard stood a massive weeping willow that towered toward the skies. This willow must be a different species from those in the outside world. Its trunk was so thick that it would take 10 adult men standing hand to hand to wrap around it, its bark ancient and twisting, thousands of willow vines hanging like an emerald curtain. Xuemeng's voice was a little dry. Wow, how old is this tree? Gushin replied, I haven't kept count but at least 100,000 years. Xuemeng was startled, what kind of tree lived that long? Trees naturally live longer than humans and this one in particular was nourished by the spiritual energy of Jinjinj Lake, so it's not really unexpected. Anyways, please follow me closely. The entrance to the arsenal is in the hollow of this tree. Gushin suddenly stopped and looked at Xuemeng. Please don't touch the branches. This tree has already cultivated into a spirit, it can feel pain. However, he spoke a little too late. Xuemeng had already plucked a leaf. Ah! He yelped at the same time a faint groan reverberated in the empty air, as if a raspy voice sighing softly. Ouch! Xuemeng paled and hurriedly threw the leaf away, as if struck by lightning. What? Why's there blood? Sure enough, a stream of blood tricked out of the branch where the leaf was broken off, and the leaf that was thrown aside writhed and convulsed on the ground as if it was alive for a while before gradually slumping to the ground and rapidly curling up and withering away. Gushin said helplessly, as I said, it's a spirit. Why would the young Gongzi? He shook his head and walked up to examine the broken branch, using his spiritual energy to soothe the willow and stop its bleeding. Chu Wanning said, Xuemeng, come over here and don't touch anything else. Yes, Shizun. Xuemeng knew he messed up and walked over obediently with his head drooping. Fortunately, the incident didn't cause any major troubles. Chu Wanning apologized to Gushin Shanggong, and the founding god, magnanimous as expected, only smiled and said, the young Gongzi sure is swift of hand. Xuemeng didn't say a word, face bright red as he followed behind Chu Wanning with his head hanging low. They passed through the curtain of lush branches and arrived at the trunk. The willow was even more overwhelmingly colossal up close than it had seemed from a distance. The initial approximation of 10 men was a great underestimation of its thickness. There was a hollow in the trunk of the willow, or rather, it would be more accurate to call it a huge arched gateway, wide enough for 3 brawny men to pass through at the same time. Gushin dispelled the numerous complicated barriers in front of the hollow one by one, then turned and said with a smile, "The holy weapon arsenal is right inside. It's kind of small and a little messy. Please don't mind." Mo Ran was quite curious and moved to follow Gushin immediately, but Chu Wanning held him back as if by reflex and said mildly, "Don't rush." But went inside himself. Mo Ran was already used to him doing this. In the previous life, whenever the 4 of them went to suppress demons, Chu Wanning had always walked in the very front. Back then, he had thought that Shizun was impatient and arrogant and didn't want to be outdone by those younger than him. But the Mo Ran of today, after his rebirth, saw things somewhat differently. Watching Chu Wanning's white robes disappear into the darkness of the tree's hollow, a thread of hesitation suddenly surfaced in his heart. Was this person really rushing to be in the front because of impatience and arrogance? End chapter. Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Chapter 39. This venerable one's new weapon. Inside the hollow of the tree was a narrow passage. They made their way along a flight of steps of smooth stone, the slippery sensation traveling from the bottom of their feet all the way to the inside of their heart, through the passage and into the bright light at its end. The Gushin Shanggong's kind of small and a little messy holy weapon arsenal was nothing like the size it appeared to be from the inside. The ancient tree was already enormous, but its inside was even more expansive, as if it encompassed the heavens above and swallowed the earth below. Towering shelves packed with tens of thousands of weapons proudly on display lined the inside. They couldn't even see the ceiling when they looked up. The rows upon rows of racks filled with magnificent weapons struck a vision of boundless grandeur and immense splendor. In the center of the arsenal was a smelting pool with waves of blistering heat coming off of the red-hot molten metal, with several unfinished weapons soaking inside. Each and every weapon made by Gushin Shanggong far surpassed the likes of Zidian Qingshuang. Rather than being marred by the intense searing heat, the blades and tips of these weapons glistened all the more radiant and resplendent. Even more wondrous were the various weapon parts soaring through the air on their own under the effect of the spell array in the ancient tree. The tiny decorative pieces and ornamental jewelries danced overhead like so many little fairies, which would occasionally collide and would send sparks flying and filled the air with delightful tinkles. Gushin looked back with a smile and said, "It's a little cramped in here, huh?" Shimei, Shwemang, cramped. Then what's spacious to you? Mo Ran, am I allowed to say motherfucker? Chu Wanning. Gushin Shanggong told Shwemang and Shimei to look around and pick a weapon, and that they're welcome to take whichever one strikes their fancy. As for Mo Ran, Gushin Shanggong was especially interested in him, so he had him try several different weapons but wasn't quite satisfied with any of them. Fengming Jiawei not the least bit discouraged, Gushin handed over the 14th weapon. "Try this one." Note, Fengming Jiawei literal meaning Phoenix Cry Scorched Tail. Mo Ran, I don't know how to play. No matter, just give it a strum. The Gukin was smooth and glossy in the front, scorched black in the back. Mo Ran plucked at it a couple of times as instructed, but the strings began to vibrate unexpectedly, resonating with a shrill tone. Gushin immediately tossed Fengming aside. A spell carried the Gukin back to its stand and exchanged it for a jade pipa. Mo Ran, let's skip this one. Playing the pipa was really too womanly for him. Leave it for those feminine boys at Kunlun Taxia Palace. But Gushin insisted, try it? Fine. Mo Ran could only give in and take the proffered pipa, but his grievance was a little too strong and the string snapped under his hand after only a couple of plucks. Gushin stared at that broken string and after a while said, "Do you know what that string is made of?" Mo Ran, you're not gonna make me pay for it, are you? Wuxian goddess's white hair. Goshen muttered, spiritual essence of the earth element, impervious to sword and fire alike, but you. Mo-Ran turned his head to look backwards in alarm. Shizun, I don't have the money to pay for it. Chu Wanning. Goshen Shanggong twirled the string between his fingers, muttering to himself. The earth element is naturally weak to the wood element. That you are able to destroy an earth elemental spiritual essence, could it be that the weapon suitable for you is a wood elemental one? But it shouldn't be. Goshen shot a glance at Chu Wanning for some reason. Chu Wanning noticed his glance and asked, what shouldn't be? Rather than answering, Goshen Shanggong lifted his hand and waved to call forth a ceramic ocarina. He blew into it, and as the sound began to gradually fade, the space above was suddenly split open by a blood-red summoning array. Ji Beiwa, come out. Mo-Ran's head snapped upwards. Xuemeng and Shimei, hearing the commotion, also came over. They watched as the air swirled about Goshen's fingertips with power, turning the intricate array above, and then a fox spirit with fluffy luxurious tails appeared from the array, accompanied by splendid lights and a shower of glittering silver. The fox spirit circled the air and floated leisurely down to land in front of Mo-Ran. The fox spirit was quite pretty. Up close, it could be seen that it was male, with a dot of red between its eyebrows and a pair of peach blossom eyes that were slightly lifted, as if somewhat angry yet reservedly polite. He was draped in ornate, finely embroidered garments and held a golden brocade box in his hands. He glanced at Goshen and smiled, exalted God. Goshen said, you should already know what I called you for. This humble one knows. Goshen asked, what do you think? Ji Beiwa smiled, not bad. It's worth a try. The two went back and forth, paying no mind at all to the other four present. Mo-Ran couldn't resist asking, what exactly are you talking about? Is this young man getting impatient already? Fox Spirit Ji Beiwa said with a smile. Speaking of, it's really quite interesting, but before I appeared just now, I felt your spiritual energy and thought for sure you would be a white-haired old man. I'm surprised you're actually a handsome young thing. Mo-Ran. Goshen spoke, Ji Beiwa, serious matters first. All right, I was just having a bit of fun. Ji Beiwa squinted, fluffy tail swishing. What was the serious matter again? Aya. Don't glare at me, Xiaogo, about this thing, it's really such a long story. Mo-Ran said, smiling, then could you please make the long story short? Ji Beiwa responded smilingly, yep. If you want the short version instead, it's actually really short. Evoking spiritual energy, he floated the brocade box in his hands over to Mo-Ran. Here, take it. That was indeed very short. Mo-Ran took the brocade box, weighing it in his hands and turning it around to examine. The box was golden and resplendent, shrouded in a luminous light, but gave no hints as to what manner of holy weapon was inside. What's more, the box has no seam or crack, and the only decoration was pair of koi fish on its top, one black and one white, each holding the tail of the other in its mouth to form the yin-yang symbol. How does it open? Ji Beiwa, the opening method will have to be between the two of us, no one else must know. Xuemeng asked, are you trying to say that we should excuse ourselves? Ji Beiwa replied with a smile, that won't be necessary. I'll just borrow this young man for a minute. He waved a hand, and Mo-Ran's sight suddenly darkened as he found the two of them alone in a small secret chamber. Don't be nervous, I just teleported us. The box holding the weapon is a magic artifact of my exclusive and secret design, that's why I couldn't tell you how to open it in front of everyone else. Don't mind. Mo-Ran smiled, it's fine, but just what weapon is it, to warrant being held in this box? That I cannot tell you. Ji Beiwa said. Holy weapons have their own temperaments, this one in particular doesn't like to easily let its form be known. If you offend it, it will refuse to recognize you as its master even if you do manage to open the box. Mo Ran was speechless for a moment and could only force a smile. What weapon? Such a strange temper. Fine, fine. Tell me then how to open the box. Seeing that he didn't force the issue, Ji Beiwa quite approved of Mo Ran. He put his hands together with a laugh. Since you are so forward, I won't beat around the bush either. This box is called Ever Yearning. As you saw, it's completely seamless. 2 conditions must be met in order to open it. Mo Ran asked, and the conditions are. Ji Beiwa, us fox spirits believed in fated love. And so, first there is only one person in this world who can open Ever Yearning. This person is extremely important in your life, you must love this person dearly and this person must also love you in return and be wholly devoted to you. Mo Ran smiled, I see. It's a strange condition for sure but doesn't seem difficult. He was confident in his feelings towards Shimei. But the corners of Ji Beiwa's lips curved faintly upwards at his words. How could it not be difficult? Since time immemorial, the heart of another has even been most unknowable. What you think to be true might not necessarily be so. I've lingered in this world for a long time and seen too many people who lost sight of their hearts. Who knew not their own most beloved person. These thousands of years, pitifully few had ever managed to open Ever Yearning. Mo Ran was surprised. Why is that? Even if you get the wrong person, just try another. Even if you have to try every person you know, you can definitely find the so-called most important person in your life eventually, right? Ji Beiwa said, that's where the second condition comes in. Aside from you, only one other person can touch Ever Yearning. In other words, you only have one chance. If you choose the wrong person, then it will remain forever closed and no one will ever be able to acquire the item within. Mo Ran laughed. No wonder you separated everyone else. It'd certainly be hard to handle if the others heard this as well. How awkward would it be if they knew that whoever I offer the box to is the one I like? He paused, playing with the brocade box in his hands before continuing, anyway, this thing sure is interesting. So basically, a lock with a one-use keyhole and the wrong key will disable it for good. Of course, you only get one chance to open it, what did you expect? Ji Beiwa glared at him. You mortals are so preoccupied with self-indulgence in your mere few decades of life, just how much fated love is squandered without even one knowing about it. Love is not unlike this Ever Yearning, you cannot so easily take back a wrong choice. Haha, worry not, O great immortal fox. Others might choose wrong but I got this in the bag. Mo Ran bowed to him and said with a smile, I won't squander this yearning. Ji Beiwa glanced at him, his voice low and gentle as he said, young one, please don't be too overconfident. I can see that you don't really know who the right person is. Mo Ran paused, smile frozen on his face, what did you meant by that? But this handsome immortal, this self-proclaimed believer of fated love was unwilling to say any more. Only sighing softly, to yearn unwittingly breaks the willow branch. Mo Ran wasn't a learned man and didn't understand this sour-tasting scholarly bullshit, but he couldn't shake the feeling that the fox was subtly trying to remind him of something. Unfortunately, he was too dumb to understand what the something might be, however hard he tried. He was just about to ask again when Ji Beiwa, knowing that his task was complete, smiled faintly and waved a hand to send Mo Ran back out. Then he suddenly froze and became stiff. Soon after, it broke into pieces with a crash. All that remained was a single black cheese piece that fell where he once stood. It was too bad that Mo Ran didn't get to see this. Many things at the bottom of this lake might have turned out differently, had he only seen. When Mo Ran came to, he was already back at the holy weapon arsenal with Ever Yearning in his hands. The other four were waiting for him. Goshen Shanggong smiled broadly in return. The little fox is really too secretive. This much ado just to open a box. Well then, do you know how to open it now? Now that the moment of truth is upon him, Mo Ran didn't have time to ponder it too deeply anyway. He smiled, yeah, It's easy. He walked up to Shimei casually. The lock has such an interesting and clever design. You guys probably couldn't figure it out given 8-10 years. Wanna try? Saying so, he offered the box to Shimei very casually. The brocade box glittered brilliantly in front of Shimei, its golden glow lighting up his gentle elegant face. Shimei, why don't you try first? Moran tried to act nonchalantly, but his heart had tied itself into a knot and palms wouldn't stop sweating. This was gambling on his chance at having a holy weapon. He really ought to be careful about it, but he felt like he was cautious enough. After all, he had already died once. How could he still not know who it was he cared for? It's not like he was dumb. Shimei hesitated a bit but took the proffered box in the end. Moran's heart jumped to his throat. He stared intently, but a long while passed and nothing happened. Moran. Shimei held the box carefully and examined it, tracing the yin-yang koi fish with his fingers and wondering, there's no seam at all and I couldn't find a keyhole either. Why is there no reaction? Shimei touched ever yearning, but why isn't anything happening? Could it be? It must be. The gloves. Moran glanced at those deer-hide gloves on Shimei's hands with sudden realization. He was just about to ask Shimei to take them off and try again when suddenly and without warning, a hand with slender fingers reached over and calmly took ever yearning. Moran cried out loudly and miserably, as if he had been struck by lightning. Shizun. Chu Wanning nearly jumped and almost dropped the box, but his composed exterior was so practiced that it had already seeped through to his bones, to the point that his inner turmoil didn't show at all on the outside. Xuemeng, having goosebumps all over from Moran's wailing, turned to him and asked, "What are you wailing about? It's just a box. What's wrong with you? Yelling like somebody stole your wife or something." Moran was really about to pass out from anger but couldn't say why. He could only cover his face and howl helplessly, "Oh heavens! Chu Wanning! Why aren't you wearing gloves? Why, when you're so afraid of cold? It's all ice and snow out there. We're all wearing gloves, why only you?" Moran paused from his inner ramblings. Oh. They each wore demon-repelling hating flowers that had been linked to Chu Wanning's spiritual energy via his palms, so he didn't even buy himself a pair of gloves to begin with. The reason he didn't wear gloves was to protect them. But Moran never even spared him so much as a single thought this entire time. Only just now at this crucial moment of opening ever yearning did he suddenly notice that Chu Wanning, who was the one most afraid of the cold, had been freezing this whole time. Moran wanted to cry but no tears came. He lamented his bad luck, to let the holy weapon slip through his fingers just like this. His chest was unspeakably stuffy when all of a sudden, as Chu Wanning's fingers brushed lightly past the yin-yang koi fish, that pair of koi made from metal came to life and began to weave nimbly around the box. A beat of silence. And then with two crisp clicking sounds, the yin-yang koi fish came together and rose to protrude from the surface, becoming a pair of handles. Chu Wanning turned the handles and the ever yearning split into two to reveal the radiant object inside, glowing golden. Moran was stunned. Ji Beiwa's words rang in his ears. There is only one person in this world who can open ever yearning. This person is extremely important in your life. You must love this person dearly, and this person must also love you in return and be wholly devoted to you. That person was Chu Wanning? How could it possibly be Chu Wanning? No way. Absolutely no way. How could he love Chu Wanning, and how could Chu Wanning like him? What a joke. This must be a mistake. Something's wrong with the box. The box is definitely broken. He was still hung up on this when Chu Wanning took out the holy weapon inside ever yearning, and something even more startling had happened. This time, not only Moran but the other three were shocked as well. Even Chu Wanning's expression changes slightly. A glistening willow vine illuminated their faces, its transcendent light reflected in their eyes. Chu Wanning. Xuemeng. Shimei. Moran choked on the two words for quite a while before finally spitting them out with much difficulty and even more disbelief. Tianwen. End chapter.